Hey guys, Mr. B here. So this video is to explain the basic circuits lab and how it works. So in the labs folder for Unit 1 Electricity and Circuits, you're going to see the basic circuits lab. If you open it up on your device, and there's my cute little baby there, it's going to look like this handout. So we are going to do this lab using the Circuit Construction Kit DC. So again, in Schoology, in the Interactives folder, there's this Circuit Construction Kit. So we're going to open this up. It's going to bring us to a website where there is a simulation that we can use, and we should be able to just hit play on it. Whether you have a Chromebook or an iPad or whatever, it should work just fine. So it looks something like this. And in this circuit little simulator, we can build some circuits. So going back to the handout, we are going to look at the directions here, and as we do that, there's going to be some questions we're going to answer. So first off, it says for number 1, using 2 wires, connect one end of each wire to the light bulb base. So basically, we're gonna try to make this drawing in our little simulator. So we need a battery, we need some wires on each side, and a light bulb. So in our little diagram, our little simulator, we're gonna pull out a battery. I'm gonna pull out 2 wires like this, and I'm gonna pull out a light bulb. And I'm going to connect up the wires to the battery like so. And when that happens, we see that the light bulb turns on. So cool, okay? So we have connected the end of each wire to the battery, and then we're gonna record what happens. And does the light bulb light up? So again, looking at our little simulation here, yep, light bulb lights up. And it looks like that the electrons are flowing from the negative end of the battery to the positive end. So the positive end is the little copper part there. So we are going to answer some questions. If we scroll down here to part A, so this part here is where the questions are. Does the light bulb light? Yes. Where does the energy flow? From negative to positive of battery. So it's flowing from the negative side to the positive side. And again, we can see that because here we have our black end of the battery, which is the negative side, and the positive end is that copper side. And we see that the electrons are going in a clockwise direction. Okay, so back to our worksheet here. It says, describe and illustrate the flow of electrical current from the battery through the wires and to the bulb. So we can say that the current flows from the battery to the bulb and back to the other end of the battery. So we see that it is a loop, basically, right? It's going in a circle. It starts on one end of the battery, and it flows through the light bulb and then goes back to the other end of the battery, and then it goes through the battery, and then it does it all over again. Okay, so it says, using your circuit, demonstrate how switches must work to turn lights on and off. Draw a diagram of what the circuit would look like if the switch was in the off position. Okay, so we can add a switch. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna select a point here, and we're gonna cut this, and then we are going to add another wire in like this. And then there's this little switch that we can add. So we're going to add a switch here. We're going to connect it up. And now if we touch the switch, it closes and the light bulb turns on. And if we open the switch, the light bulb turns off. And we see that when the switch is closed, that those electrons are moving through the battery and the light bulb, and it turns on. And when that switch is open, everything stops moving and the light bulb doesn't turn on. So we can draw a diagram of what the circuit would look like if the switch was in the off position. So here's our switch in its off position. So we have a battery, we have our light bulb, we have our switch. We see that the switch is kind of like a little gate, like on a fence, and the gate is open. So let's draw what that picture looks like. So we're going to draw a battery like this. There's the positive end. We've got wire going up to a light bulb. So there's our little light bulb. Kind of looks like a mushroom, but anyway, there's our light bulb. And then our little switch, we will draw as like this little gate kind of open like this. And then we'll draw the wire up like that. So there's our wire in its off position where it's open. And we see that there's a gap in the wires, which is why the light bulb doesn't turn on. Okay, so going back up here then, we did part A. So now we're looking at part B. So at this part, we're basically going to build what this other picture looks like. So we're going to build this picture here with our little circuit simulator. So back in this, if we just hit the little trash can at the bottom, it'll delete stuff. So actually, I believe if we hit the little reset button in the bottom right, it resets everything. So let's just do that. It'll be faster. And then again, we'll grab our battery. Let's just double check this picture. So it looks like we have a battery, but then wires on each side connecting to a light bulb, and then another 2 wires connecting to another light bulb. So we are going to use a couple of different things here to make this work, but we've got our battery. We're going to grab our wires here. We'll grab our first light bulb. Then we'll grab some more wires, and then we'll grab our second light bulb. So we are first going to connect up. Let's actually, I'm going to make it look a little bit different here. So we're going to make this look a little bit neater. So let's actually do it like this. So we've got a connection like that. So it's going to kind of look like a little bit of a box. So we've got a connection like this, and then we'll grab these wires and we will connect them up like this. And again, we'll kind of make another little box up here. So it looks something like that. There you go. Okay, so this is our second diagram and our second picture. So again, we can see that we have our battery and our wires and our light bulb set up like this, and in our picture, our simulation we've made, it looks very similar to that. All right, so going from there then, we're going to answer the questions. So again, let's go down to the bottom here. So in the parallel circuits part, we are looking at this part here. So it says record what happens with this type of circuit. So again, we can write down whatever we see. Do both light bulbs light up? Again, we can look back at our simulation and see, do both light bulbs light up? We can answer that question. And then what happens if one light bulb is unscrewed from its socket and why? So to unscrew our light bulb, let's do this. So let's click on a light bulb here and let's just hit delete. So it's like we've unscrewed the light bulb, right? So like it doesn't exist anymore. And when we do that, we see that the top light bulb keeps on going, which maybe is interesting. Maybe we thought it was going to turn off, right? So let's maybe add this one back in here, and let's maybe take the top one and let's delete that one. And when that one gets deleted, the bottom one stays on. So that's kind of interesting. Again, we might have expected that the light bulb would turn off, but it seems like it keeps on going. So that's kind of a neat little thing here that we have with parallel circuits. So we can answer that question, and then we'll move on to the last part. So last part then is building a series circuit here for part C. Again, we're going to build a diagram in our simulator that looks like that. So let's go back to our simulation. Let's hit the bottom right little reset button to clear everything. Let's grab our battery. And again, in our simulation or our little diagram, we've got a wire here. We've got 2 light bulbs then right next to each other and another wire. So we're going to have 2 light bulbs like this. And we're going to have a wire that then is going to connect the light bulbs up like this, and we're going to make it kind of look like a box so it looks a bit neater. So let's go something like this. Let's grab another wire on this end, and then let's connect this up to then look something like this. Okay, so we've got our 2 light bulbs that are right next to each other, and the electrons are flowing and they've turned on. So again, let's then look at our questions. Let's scroll down here to part C, and it says record what happens with this type of circuit. So again, we can write down what we see. Do both light bulbs light? Again, we can write down yes or no. And what happens if one light bulb is unscrewed from its socket and why? So again, if we click on a light bulb here and let's just hit delete, we see that when that one is gone, the other light bulb turns off, which is different from the parallel circuit because when we deleted one of them, the other light bulb stayed on. So that's kind of interesting. Let's add this light bulb maybe back in here. You see it turns on again. So now let's maybe delete the other one. And let's unscrew that one, so let's delete it. And again, we see the first light bulb turns off. So we notice that when we delete a light bulb, there's this gap, kind of like when we had the switch in the first one. And that gap means that there's no longer a closed loop, so these electrons can't flow through the wires anymore, which means that the first light bulb can't turn on anymore, because there's no longer a connection from one end of the battery to the other. So this is that first lab. Hopefully this gives you some direction on what to do. And if you have any questions, you can always email me. All right.